Hello and welcome. My name is Matt, and I'm here to give you 3 tips to radically transform your D&D sessions. This is geared more towards DMs, but players stick around. I have some helpful advice for you as well. Let's get into it.
Introduction.
The first thing I'm going to talk about is preparing for the session. Obviously, you as the DM have to write and come up with all the scenarios and all the ideas and the main plot. That's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about preparing for the session, I mean think about the types of situations that you're putting your characters in and try to use them to advance the main plot. Rather than have a random group of orcs suddenly attack the party for no real reason at all, instead think about having the orcs be attacking out of desperation. Maybe some evil white dragon has driven them from their home on the mountain and now they're out roving for food. Or instead of a group of bandits attacking at night for no reason other than they're bandits and they attack at night, instead maybe one of the bandits is a member of a secret order of assassins, and killing the player character is the only way that he can get into the assassin's order and prove himself worthy. Not only does this add depth to your world by giving your antagonist complexity and motivation, it also sets you as a DM up for future encounters and future sessions that you will have less to write now because you've already come up with these ideas. Just from these suggestions, we know that there is a dragon that needs to be taken care of. We know that there's a secret order of assassins in one of the players' hometowns that's potentially putting their family and friends at risk. Who's behind it all? What's their motivation? These are things to think about as you're planning out your sessions now so that you can help yourself in the long term. In doing this, you have also made the antagonists more than just nameless, faceless hordes of enemies that have to be cut down one after another. And instead, you've created a world full of complex, real people that are capable of making their own decisions and having their own motivations and drives that helps the world to feel more full and real and lifelike. You also have begun to incorporate one or more of the players' backstories into the main quest line. This will show that you are interested in the work that the player put into creating their character because you're a good DM. This will also help the players feel more invested in the story and help them to connect more with what you're putting down in the session. This leads us to the second point.
Listen to your players.
It may seem counterintuitive to ask and listen to your players about the story and for direction and how the story should progress, since you are the one writing it and you're the one in charge of how the story is going to go. But listening and talking with your players can give you all kinds of insight into areas that you can improve as a DM and also how the story can improve as a whole. Ultimately, you started DMing because you wanted to work with other people to bring a story to life. That or you really like the artwork on the back of the DM screen, I guess. If those other people that you started with aren't having a good time, they won't want to participate in the story to any kind of meaningful degree. For example, if you as a DM are really into mysteries, you like the slow-paced, creeping buildup of tension and the hidden clues all over the place, and your players really aren't into that kind of thing, they're not going to pay attention and to grab at those clues that you've so painstakingly planted throughout the session. And fairly soon, you'll be dragging them from plot point to plot point to plot point in hopes that maybe at one point they'll pick up and get excited. And unfortunately, pretty soon they're going to disengage from the story altogether and leave you floundering and wondering what you could have done better. Or another example, if your players enjoy combat, but all you do is plan social encounters, they're going to get bored fairly quickly. Sometimes you need to hack and slash at a few things just to blow off some steam. It doesn't have to be every day that you sit down and have an hour-long conversation with each one of your players, connecting your heart to their heart, but taking time once in a while to sit down and really find out what types of situations they enjoy, what kind of encounters help them to feel fulfilled. Talk about their characters and express your concerns about where the story might be heading or where their character might be developing into. This is also a great time to tell your characters what you enjoy about their playstyle, the things that you like seeing them do, or the types of encounters that really give you as a DM a rewarding feeling. Importantly, your players need to be honest with you. You need to be open to receive criticism from them. As much as we might like to think so, we are not perfect as DMs. We make mistakes. We get caught up in something that no one else might be interested in. It's important to touch base with your players and find out what you can do to improve the story as a whole overall. This way, you will become a better DM and a better storyteller. In the same way, for you players out there, be open to critiques about your playstyle from the DM and from other players. Most of the time, when people are offering you a critique, it's not because they hate you or they think everything you do is horrible or you're the worst player ever. They're telling you these things because they care about you and they see the potential in what you're doing. And they really want to see you progress and succeed. You are all working together to bring this story to life. A story can't exist without characters any more than it can exist without an author. Talking about the story with the people who are actively helping you create it is the best thing you can do if you want everyone to enjoy themselves and to feel involved. This point is especially true if there are any conflicts between players and DM. It might seem easier to let that tension just sort of go away and fade away, and maybe the problem will take care of itself, but it's a surefire way to cause division and strife, because if you don't handle it, the problem will grow, it will compound on itself, and it will get worse, and eventually it will affect your friendships in real life. You all decided to play together for a reason. Don't let pride or fear of dealing with confrontation ruin friendships that you have with each other. This leads us to the third point. Have fun. This seems like a really obvious point to make. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, your players won't enjoy what you're doing. When you sit down to write the next session, make it something dramatic, make it dynamic, make it dangerous and emotional and beautiful. Make it a session that you as a player would really want to jump in on. You can bet that if you're excited about it, your players will likely be excited about it too. And in the same way, if you come in to the session bored or like you don't want to be there, your players will read that information and react accordingly. This is actually one of the main reasons I started DMing in the first place. I was disappointed in the games I was involved in, and I wanted something more. I wanted a game that was focused on dynamic characters and emotional outcomes and moral quandaries and those kinds of situations, and I just wasn't getting that in the games that I was in. It's no fault of anyone, it's just they weren't playing the style that I wanted to. I tried out a few games on Roll20 and a few other areas, but I just wasn't finding the intense story that I was looking for. I'd always heard these wonderful memories that people I knew had with tabletop games and with the crazy stories they had and how much fun it seemed. And I wanted that for myself. So I tried to find a few games, and I didn't end up finding anything that fit that niche. And so I resolved to sit down and I wrote a one-shot. And then the one-shot became, well, maybe I'll do two-shot. And then it was 4 sessions, and then it was 6 sessions, and then it eventually became the game that I am still DMing to this day. Actually, you can watch us on Saturday nights at 5:30 Pacific time. It's on the Baggage Claim D&D channel. You can check it out in the description below. This game has been going on for over a year, and it's not showing any signs of stopping soon. However, that doesn't mean that every session has to be something that you as the DM personally enjoy, or that it's exactly your favorite thing. Sometimes you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone and write something for your players, or write something for that player that maybe likes a peculiar playstyle or type of encounter. This may not be exactly what you want. That's okay. Investing time into something enjoyable for other people is a good thing to do, and also it will help you to become a more well-rounded writer and DM. For me, I have a hard time with traveling. Traveling often feels like a chore. It feels like I'm trying to come up with descriptors for the same rolling hills and verdant green grass, and they eventually all start to seem the same. But travel can be a really useful time to help your players feel connected to the world that you've created. If you have a party full of heroes who save the land from evil big bad after evil big bad, eventually the characters are going to question who and what exactly are we fighting for. Traveling is a great opportunity to do that. Have your party stop off at a local village and enter into their annual drinking contest, and then after they win, if they win, have the next town over talking about it. Or maybe the next time they come around, have their faces etched on the Hall of Fame. Or perhaps one of these towns has the land's oldest inhabitant, who will tell the party local legend that lead them to find a hidden artifact long forgotten by history books and only remembered through oral tradition. Using these small town encounters helps the world to feel more fleshed out and full, rather than a series of plot points that have been haphazardly stuck next to one another. You've gone through the effort of building this world. Help your players connect with it and see it for what it is. It also lets you sneakily deliver more of that world building that you've worked so hard on, and it won't feel like an exposition dump. No one wants to listen to you give a lecture on the 20-year history of all the significant events that have ever happened in your land, as interesting as it may be. But what they do want to listen to is an ancient legend of a terrifying villain who was entombed in the nearby ruins with all his treasures and magical artifacts, delivered by an aged seer, long since forgotten. Whatever you end up doing, make sure that you enjoy it. And if DMing starts to feel like work, or it's just draining the life out of you, it's time to take a break, step away for a little while. Maybe let another player who's been wanting to try DMing give it a shot, or maybe just take a break from the session altogether. There's no sense in working yourself to death over something that you're not even getting any enjoyment out of. I think that's it for this video. Remember, prepare for the session, listen to your players, and have fun. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and let me know in the comments what your favorite travel encounters are, so that I can steal them for my game. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and check out my game on Baggage Claim D&D, linked in the description below, every Saturday at 5:30 Pacific time. I'll see you on the next one.